Hey everybody, Bennett for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl 7's rosters, Snotlings. So we're going through every team in Blood Bowl, and we're putting together some of the best and most entertaining Sevens rosters. Now, the Sevens rosters, the Sevens rules have changed with the Deathzone supplement that came out, and we're now taking 2 years of Blood Bowl 2020 experience and a ton of Blood Bowl 7s and going through and having a look at some of the best ways to play. Now, Snotlings are underrated in 11s, and in 7s they can be extremely swingy. They can be insanely fun, insanely frustrating, or they can fall apart in an instant. So let's have a look at some of the best and most entertaining Snotling rosters. Okay, so why Snotlings? First of all, the team looks amazing and is just a lot of fun. One of the downsides of Snotlings in Blood Bowl 7s is they fall afoul of one of the biggest changes, the biggest differences in the 7s version from 11s. You can only take 4 positionals. You can only take 4 players that are not alignment. Now, if you've played against or with Snotlings at 11s, you'll know that it's all about this positional, this positional, this positional, and in 7s you only get 4. So it's really interesting. The roster is cheap. Riotous Rookies has now gone away, so they can no longer take that infinite supply of linemen. Snotlings are a unique challenge in 7s these days, but they've got a ton of great strengths on the pitch. First of all, dodge and sidestep is so frustrating. If you've ever played against a Snotling team, or a team with Snotlings on, or Noblars, you will know the kind of frustration that you can get by push, dodge, star, follow up. Right, actually, it's a huge benefit to you playing as the Snotling coach. You can lead players afoul. You can basically use every time that Snotling gets punched as a way to make that situation a little bit better for your team. Sometimes it works, sometimes the Snotling dies, but you can, generally speaking, always choose how they die. Now, you've also got Stunty, Titchy, and Dodge on the majority of your players, which is a 2+ with a reroll to dodge and move almost everywhere. That is sneaky brilliant, okay? That means that even the line Snotlings on this roster can go 7 squares in a straight line with just a few 2+. They are very fast. So if a Snotling has the ball, you realistically only have 2 turns to try and catch him and squish him, or that's going to be a touchdown. On the downside, they are extremely squishy. So they've got no block, they've got no armor, they've got no strength. So if you can catch one and you can hit him properly, he's likely to die. But if you can't hit them right, because dodge is a very good way of staying alive, Snotlings can be sneaky fast, and that's not even with their positionals. And they've got some great positionals too. They've got a couple of movement 6 pieces. One of them's got pogo stick, which means they're just 3+ moving for 2 squares. It's brilliant. The other one has the Stilty dudes have got sprint, which means they're kind of up to movement 9, which again is really fast. Those guys don't have Titchy, so they're only dodging 3+ with a reroll. But for a movement 9 piece, when you're taking 3 rushes, that's definitely worth it. But the superstar of this roster has got to be the Fungus Flingers. They are just better bombers. They're not bomber dribble snot quality, but quite frankly, nobody is. But they are just awesome. That pass, that explosion, Flingers are brilliant, and at what, 30k, they are an absolute bargain. This roster has got half-price bribes as well, and because your players are basically free, you will probably be able to take some bribes if you take a Flinger. Now, they've also got Swarming. Now, Swarming has changed ever so slightly in that you can only bring on a number of players with Swarming equal to the number of players with Swarming that you have on the pitch. And because you can't take Riotous Rookies, it means your roster is capped at 11 players. But what it does mean, generally, is that for the first few drives, you can deploy 8, 9, 10 players onto the field. And those numbers add up, and it is just an absolute mess for your opponents to try and move through. It is brilliant, and it is just a really interesting and different way to play. Weaknesses, they've got trolls, they're extremely squishy, I've put no sure hands, they've got no block, they've got no sure hands. It is a really interesting roster. You've got some great bombers, reasonable speed, and trolls and pump wagons, which are really stupid, which do need a little bit of handling. It's kind of a house of cards. If it comes together beautifully, amazing. but if something starts to give, the roster can kind of unfurl very quickly. Okay, so let's start off with 2 Troll, 2 Stilty. Yes, another Vin Diesel movie. We've got 2 Trolls and 2 Stilty Runners. Now, I've put a little asterisk by the Stilty Runners because they are the same price as the Fun Hoppers, which are the hoppy dudes. And then with this roster, you've got 6 Snotlings and 1 reroll, and that brings you in at 480k. 7s has a limit of 600. We'll talk through what you can do with that cash in a minute. So with this roster, you've got 10 players at the moment. You're likely to buy another one. You've got those 2 Trolls. Now, those 2 Trolls are going to need babysitting. If you've got 7 players on the pitch, 2 are Trolls, 2 are your Stilties or Fungus Hopper dudes, that means 3 of them are Snotlings, which means you can bring on D3 swarming players, which means you are going to be doing 8 or 9 players basically for the drives, and that does mean that you can afford to basically pair a Snotling up with a Troll and keep them activating and keep them moving. They're still going to fail on a 1+, so basically they are an assisted Bonehead for most of the time, but Trolls can be great in 7s. Movement 4 is pretty slow, but actually the pitch is only 11 squares wide, and if you've got 2 Trolls, then the coverage in that backfield is monstrous, and you have a monster, or 2 in this case, with Mighty Blow, to be able to just trundle in and smash stuff. And you've got those little tiny stitchy players to just sort of mooch around and fill in, like, running lanes and just kind of channel your opponent towards your Troll, and using that dodge step is going to be able to actually do that as well. Now, Stilty Runners / Fungus Fun Hoppers, they're both movement 6 pieces. The Fun Hoppers are great, but that leap move that they can take is always going to be on a 3+, but there's no integral reroll anywhere for that. So I think you are better off, if you want to run this roster, taking the Stilties, because you can get a skill that gives you sure feet to go with their sprint. So actually you can kind of have a reroll built in there, and if you're planning on dodging, you've got that dodge reroll anyway. That said, the Fun Hoppers allow you to just bamf 2 squares into any situation. They're strength 1, so it's not like the most terrifying thing out there, but it can absolutely save you in a pinch. Now, skills-wise, if you're running League, it's going to be randoms, and it's going to be great fun. But if you are playing an expansion league or a constructed team, then there are some great skills, and you are going to be tier 3, which means you're going to get the best amount of skills possible in your format. Trolls are big guys. Big guys always benefit from block, but also consider Pro if you want to put a skill on a Troll. Pro allows you on a 3+ to reroll a dice, whether it's your failed really stupid or one of your dice from a block pool. It can really make it more consistent. So Pro will block are great, but they are secondary skills. Otherwise, with the Trolls, I wouldn't worry too much. You can use Strong Arm to make your throw game better, but with the FAQ, if you throw one of your players and it hits any other player on the board, it's going to be a turnover no matter what. So the old strategy of using Snotlings as ammunition is kind of nerfed a bit now. The Stilty Runners and also the Fun Hoppers, obviously they benefit from block. They've got dodge. There they become movement 6 blodgers, which is just above average slightly because they're strength 1. Break tackle is sneaky good on both of those positionals though, because break tackle gives you +1 to your dodge roll once per turn if you are less than strength 5, +2 if you're strength 5. What that means is that those guys who've got stunty dodge edge 3+, with a break tackle means you can actually pass 1 test per turn on a 2+, which can make it a lot easier for your movement 9 asterisk with 3 go for it Stilty player to just actually bounce through tackle zones when they need to. Catch sure feet, just keep them running, keep them moving, and allow you to just have an integral reroll to receive the ball. None of that is absolutely necessary. Catch is good. Sure feet is probably the best thing you can put on them. When it comes to general skills for the Snotling team, there's not a lot. Sorry, general skills, primary skills for the Snotling team. There's not a lot that you are absolutely desperate for. It used to be that jump up was great, but now you don't really want to be throwing your players all around. Sure feet is good though, because basically it takes your line dudes from movement 5 to movement 7, and your Stilty runner from movement 6 to movement 9. So sure feet is probably the best skill you can put on them. Now, line Snotlings here, we've got 6 of them on this roster. If you got any doubles, then block, wrestle, dauntless. A random general is great fun on any player. Kick is also phenomenally useful, and again, sure feet's going to keep them moving around. That's the fundamental of this roster, but it only comes in at 480k, so that gives you money to play with. So reroll / coaches. The rerolls for this team are 120k, so you can afford to take 10 players and 2 rerolls to keep your players doing what you want them to do. You can also go out, buy that other Snotling, and then fill in with 2 Desperate Measures. Now, Desperate Measures are a brilliant new addition to 7s. They're swingy, they're narrative, they're 50k a piece. It might be great for you, it might be bad for you. You might get a wizard. So actually, if you are going to be running stunty nonsense, you've got 2 trolls, you've got some scoring threats, you can take that, max out your roster at 11, take 2 Desperate Measures, and just hope you roll great on that chart. Now, there are 2 more big guy positionals on this roster. They are secret weapons, so we're going to have to watch out for the bribe. You can take the max strength build, which is 2 trolls, 2 pump wagons, 7 snotlings, so you've maxed out 11 players. This one comes in at 545k. You can use that spare money to either buy a bribe to keep a pump wagon around or a Desperate Measure just for extra carnage. Now, this roster is going to be so hard to do anything with. It's going to be such a unique challenge with some interesting opportunities, to use a bit of corporate lingo. 2 trolls with really stupid. Movement 4, not great. Strength 5, Mighty Blow, pretty great. Pump wagons, everything I just said, again. You've got 4, Strength 5, Mighty Blow, really stupid pieces here. You've got 7 Snotlings, which is great, so you can use them to mobilize. Realistically, it's going to be absolute carnage. But you can wheel 4 big guys, potentially, into position and just start going ham on your opponent. That is 4 lots of Mighty Blow. And in 7s, 1 removal is a much bigger swing than it is in 11s, and with 4 big guys with Mighty Blow, this is, I think, the only way to do that in 7s. You can only afford 3 ogres. Tomb Guardians don't have Mighty Blow. I think this is the only way to get 4 big guys with Mighty Blow onto a pitch in 7s. And it is going to tear your team apart. They're going to be failing really stupids, and it's going to be brilliant. But every now and again, you're going to get some good 2-die, 3-die blocks in there, or blitzes, and it's going to be carnage. You only need a couple of big hits in 7s, and with 4 dudes on the pitch, you can afford to just sit there on defense and wait for your opponent to come to you. Now, one slight twist on this roster would be to drop the second pump wagon, backfill it with a fungus flinger, save yourself 80k, take an extra bribe and maybe a couple of coaches or something, and then really play defense. Just say to your opponent, like, come to my line. I've got 2 trolls, a pump wagon, and a bomber. Like, how are you going to get through that? And I've got 2 bribes there, basically, to be able to keep them on the pitch and keep just farming casualties. This has got probably the biggest potential for a pitch clear in 7s, and we haven't really looked at Chaos Renegades yet this season. So I wasn't thinking about this one when I built these rosters, but this could be super fun. You've obviously got to watch out for the fact that the pump wagons are secret weapons, so bribes are going to be really important, and you don't really want to play both pump wagons at one time without being able to farm extra bribes. But when you do, if you do, that one time is going to be glorious. Okay, but you can tone down the big guy and lean more into the snotling angle. So the 1 troll mix has got 1 troll, 1 hopper or fungus flinger, fun hopper, so 1 fast piece, and then 2 fungus flingers. 7 snotlings, 1 reroll, takes you to 11 players. I've put 8, but it is in fact 11. And that only comes in at 420k. So you've got those fungus flingers, and if you've got access to any skills at all, there's so much you can do with these little guys. Accurate means you're bombing even better. Pass means you've got an integral reroll to those bombs, which is going to save you from fumbles. Nerves of Steel means that when your opponent inevitably bases them, they're not going to have any minuses to it. Although, to be fair, when your opponent does base your bomber, sometimes it's better to just roll the dice. No, because the fumble doesn't work anymore, does it? That would be a wildly inaccurate instead of the fumble. Yeah, ignore that. Running pass, however, with a bomb is brilliant. That guy... Movement 5, throw the bomb, redeploy. Throw the bomb, redeploy. Actually, a really good little skill for you there. 420k gives you 180 money left to spend. You don't have any bribes at the moment. There's kind of 2 chief things you can do here. One is bin off your reroll. That gives you a total of 300k and buy a Master Chef. Now, we've not talked about the Master Chef when it comes to the Snotling roster, but because your players are so cheap, you do actually have it within your grasp. Now, there's 2 kind of things here. You get 3 chances each half to roll a 4+ to get yourself a reroll. On par, that means one half you're going to have 2 rerolls and another you're going to have 1 reroll. That's not the worst thing in the world. What it does mean is if you are playing against an opponent that has forked out 100, 120, 140k for a reroll, you have got a superb chance of rinsing that reroll. You've got an 82% chance of removing at least 1 reroll. Now, you can do that and take away basically a quarter of their cost, a fifth to a quarter of their cost, and it is a really big boon if that happens. Alternatively, and this is the risky thing, they don't have any rerolls, so all you're doing is paying 2.5 rerolls for the potential to have 1.5 rerolls each half. So not ideal. But when you've got this amount of money left over, you can just buy hard cash, second reroll, good to go, and then you've got the choice of bits here. Personally, 2 fungus flingers. I'm going to want 2 bribes, probably take me to 520. Take a few assistant coaches to try and win the reroll on brilliant coaching. And then a desperate measure for all the laughs. Those bribes are going to mean that you're going to be able to keep your fungus flingers on the go. Because the halves are shorter, you're kind of thinking 3 drives. So fungus flinger 1 gets played, gets murdered. Fungus flinger 2 comes in, maybe he survives and use a bribe and then roll him out for drive 3. So 1 bribe is probably going to be enough when you've got 2 fungus flingers, because the fungus flinger is cheaper than the bribe. So bear that in mind as well. This is, again, everything we've talked about. Fungus flingers are great. You will miss not having that second or third big guy, but you will have to use your standard snotlings to screen in front, and your flingers will just have to do all the work. Or you can ignore all the big guys altogether. 2 fun hoppers, 2 Stilty runners, 7 snotlings, 2 rerolls. That's maxed out at 11, 425k. Everything we just talked about with the Master Chef is applicable, the reroll is applicable, or the desperate measures. Now you've already got 2 rerolls, and now you've got 175k to play with. So you can pick up reroll 3. You can go bribe, desperate measure, assistant coach, which is potentially what I do. You will need... Oh, we haven't gone for the bombers. Okay. That's a slightly different roster. This one here, you've got 2 fun hoppers and 2 Stilty runners. So this is all about being as fast as you can. The next roster is actually very, very, very similar. So similar that I'm going to put it up on the screen now, which is the Stunty mix at 435. So a little bit more expensive, but instead of 4 of those speed positionals, you've got 2 of the speed positionals and 2 fungus flingers in there as well. And you've still got 160 to play with, which is going to give you enough to go bribe, desperate measure, or 3 bribes, or whatever you want to do with 2 rerolls in there. You've got no big guys. This roster is going to be all about the whole use your opponent's strength against you. You're going to have to screen with your dodge 2+ stunty pieces. It's going to be okay for a period of time, and then they're going to start dying. You've only got 4 players in reserve. That's not a lot of snotlings, especially when 2 are fungus flingers, and even though you've got bribes, they are still likely, well, they're going to remove at a faster clip than your regular players, and they're going to be targeted by your opponent. This is, both of these rosters, the max speed and the stunty mix, are for those players that just want to run stunty and be the ultimate underdog. Now, as I was going into this video, this one here felt potentially the better of the rosters. You can flex out your Stilty runners and replace them, maybe 1 Stilty, 1 bomber, and you still have enough money for a bribe in there as well. But actually, I really do like the idea of all 4 big guys, even if it's just for 1 drive. That just sounds bloodthirsty and swingy and insanely fun. Snotlings have got so many cool positionals. That hard cap of 4 positionals is going to limit you when it comes to doing everything you want to do, but that's what Sevens is about. It's about having a slice of your team, a taste of your team, and every one of these recipes is going to give you the full flavor of stunty, which is underdog and hoping it's going to work. And when it does come together, it's going to come together absolutely beastly, and I love it. I love Sevens, I love Snotlings. These rosters are a lot of fun. You're not going to win a lot, but you are always going to have a brilliant time. Anyway, let me know which of these rosters you like for Snotlings and Sevens. We've seen them perform brilliantly, and we've also seen them perform really badly. So if you want a bit of a better breakdown of what teams are doing well, we've got a video going live this week called the Mini Meta for Sevens, where we've got Stevie126 joining us and talking us through some stats. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy bombing. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us.